Hello, friends. I've been talking a little bit about jazz and these sort of terms that make people sort of turn around and walk away, like jazz fusion. I know, I know, but it's one of those things that I like it when I like it, and if I don't like it, then I don't like it. And I know you know what I mean. It's hard to explain about music why some of it appeals and some of it disappeals. Some of it you reject. You're like, nope, that doesn't ring true to me. And for some reason, some of it is you kind of get the impression that they're not doing it for the right reasons, if you know what I mean. Like somebody is doing a certain kind of music and they're not in it for the right reasons, in my judgment. But there's sometimes when you see something that seems at first to be a little bit maybe derivative or something, and you're like, okay, are they copying or are they doing an homage? Are they trying to keep a genre alive, or are they trying to mine it for, something that they can kind of steal? And sometimes a grouping of musicians will come along, a band or a group or a single musician will come along, and you're like, wow, they have that thing. They have that old school, and it comes across not as a ripoff, but as a genuine homage, or more like a keeping the fire lit in a certain genre and bringing it back. Things, if you ever got into prog and you went into that other realm of prog that's sort of less rock and roll prog and more into the sort of Baroque prog, like maybe, I don't know, Weather Report and things like that, Chick Corea and things like that. This band that I'm about to talk about does that. And they do it so well and so naturally and with so much fun and so much newness. They've kind of taken it and updated it, it's kind of inevitable that any young person playing now is going to incorporate some of the young person stuff that they grew up on. But I'm talking about Domi and JD Beck. So far, I think they only have this one album, and the album is called Not Tight, and it's got some amazing songs on here that are so old school, Herbie Hancock, Weather Report-y kind of jazz. Domi plays keyboards, and she is sort of unbelievably good at just the chords, and she plays some of go on YouTube, look them up. Like I always say, go on YouTube, look them up before you start buying the albums, which I totally always recommend. Purchase their stuff, because these guys are not rich. They need you to buy their stuff. Don't just, listen to them on YouTube. But do check them out on YouTube to make sure you like them, because it's amazing to see them play. That's the thing. When you buy the album, you put it on, you're listening to it. But if you watch the video, you get to see them playing this stuff. And that is part of my amazement with them. Domi, they're also super young. It's crazy how young they are. And yet they're so accomplished. Domi plays keyboards. She'll play the melody lines, the high parts, the sort of melodies and the chords, with one hand, while she, on a different keyboard, will be playing the bass lines, kind of like Ray Manzarek did in The Doors. But she's doing these crazy bass lines up here while she's playing these crazy chord progressions down here. And then the camera goes down to her feet, and she's also playing pedals on the floor. So she's got her feet going, playing chords and notes on the floor, playing bass and playing chords here. And she's not breaking a sweat. Her face looks like she's reading the newspaper or something. She's just like, no problem. And meanwhile, JD Beck, her drummer, is playing these crazy good, super tight, strange time signatures again, but the vibe he puts across, I think he grew up listening to jazz and going to school, and I think she definitely schooled. I think that's where they met. But his style, I think, sounds a bit like drum and bass. So it's almost like he was listening to IDM kind of electronic music, rap, dub, hip hop kind of stuff, drum and bass, maybe I don't know, techno kind of stuff, but the way he plays is interesting, and I have a feeling that he grew up listening to that stuff, and maybe is trying to duplicate the sound of a drum loop or a drum machine, or beats programming, this kind of stuff that you would do on your computer to program a dance beat, like an IDM kind of beat, or a drum and bass kind of beat, or a hip hop, sort of chill hip hop kind of beat, those kind of amen break kind of things. But he plays that kind of drum and bass style, but he adds a lot of times drum and bass is just that beat going on, like motoric, and it keeps going. Once in a while there's some little thing that pops in. But this guy plays like that. He sounds, and I mean this in a good way, he sounds like a drum machine, and he is playing it live. So he's putting in fills, and he's got a full drum kit. So, but it's not like one of those massive Neil Peart kits, but he gets a lot of different sounds out of it, and so tight for a person who hasn't. I mean, he's not old enough to have been playing long enough to be as good as he is. I'll put it that way. Kind of shockingly good. And Domi, likewise, she is like so young. And how did she get that good so young? It's crazy. But anyway, they do a type of music on this album that is very specific. When you hear it, when you go online and you watch them do a few shows online, a few of their appearances on things, check them out. It's that kind of jazz fusion that goes back to like 70s style jazz fusion with the like kind of keyboard oriented. Some of the runs are very Chick Corea sounding and Weather Report style. Some of the chord progressions kind of have that feel to them. So in a way, you might feel like you're listening to an homage, or that that maybe these guys grew up on that stuff. Maybe their parents played it for them, and but they add some stuff to it. On the album, they have some guest stars. They have some folks coming in to do something. Herbie Hancock's on there. And so they're not trying to hide their influences, But the record is really fun. It goes through a lot of different types of feels. But one thing that I think about them is that they have the JD Beck, the drummer. I want to see him progress. I want to see what happens in future albums where he goes into different styles of playing, because sometimes his playing style can get a little bit like each song almost kind of sounds very similar to each other, because he's still playing the kind of drum and bass licks on the drums, which is fine, But I want to see what else this guy can do. I think he's got a lot of other things in him because he is so good already. I want to see where he goes from here. And he is so young, I can say that, It's like with some other people, you're like, well, that's all he can do. Next, but with someone his age, you're like, okay, this is the, in the future, we'll look back and we'll say, okay, that's their first album. Yeah, but he progressed so much. And so did she. They both, I want to see where they go from here. Because I feel like there is a boundary on this album, a musical boundary that they are within. And I have a feeling that they're going to be able to, as they get more experience and more life experience, that boundary is going to fall down, because they're just so good, and they're going to be able to expand into unknown realms. I feel like I really look forward to keeping up with the career of people like this that I see. This is like their first album, and they're so new to everything, and it's fun to sort of latch on to people like that and see where their life is going to take them, where their musical life is going to take them. But I recommend them. Check them out on YouTube and see what you think. See if you're as amazed as I am by Domi's like all limbs working style of playing, and her just spotless ability to play chords, bass at the same time in these intricate time signatures. And it's not normal stuff. This is not like, it's not easy stuff to play. It's super complicated stuff to play. And in another video or two, I've mentioned Lewis Cole. You can also find videos online of Domi playing with Lewis Cole, who also is one of those amazing musicians. And the two of them have keyboards in one video, and they're just playing back and forth with each other and doing these ripping solos and chord progressions and just tight in the pocket, funky jazz. I totally recommend it. If you like it, then there is a rabbit hole for you to go down with these folks, and I like it. It may seem I don't know. It's not pretentious though, but some people might look at it and say it's pretentious because it's really complicated and really hard to play, and she is just showing off, it's a flurry of notes. But I think not. I think what they're doing is fun, and I think they're having a good time doing it. You can just tell they really like each other, and they like playing with each other, because sometimes when they're playing, they'll look at each other and smile. And I've played in bands. And I played in bands for years and years, and I know what's happening there. They're both having that moment where they're like, "This is good. This is working." And I love seeing that in musicians. I love seeing the relation between the playing and hearing them have that ESP with each other that I know sometimes exists with music, where you play with a musician that's so in tune with your style and where you're going to go, that sometimes you'll do a chord, you'll do a change, you'll change something, and they change at the same time, like they're reading your brain. It's amazing. Music is amazing, isn't it? Anyway, check out Domi and JD Beck. Look them up online, and then please, buy their stuff. Like I keep saying, buy their records. It's pretty easy to buy them. Buy their t-shirts, buy their merch. Help keep them going so that they will expand and make more music, and so we can watch where they go and what happens in their careers, because I'm really curious. I really want to see what happens next. So check them out, and I will talk to you again real soon.